Now, are there seeds in these marijuana cigarettes, or are there any...
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
You want that now?
Well, no, I was just wondering if you wanted to talk about it.
Well, do my trays here. My can. That way you get to see the lid, but...
So it says here, marijuana cigarettes, approximately 300 per can, net weight. Manufactured April of 1996.
Yep.
The Research Triangle Institute.
Yep. That's who cans it and freezes it. And Night actually goes down and does the cigarette machine work. Okay, this actually is a few days worth of cleaning. As you can see, it's almost all immature seed. And I need to clean that again. But you can see it's all full of stems and immature seeds, so it wasn't even mature marijuana when they picked it. So they're giving me immature marijuana.
Oh wow, there's a lot of seeds in there.
Yeah, and that's probably out of 40. So every 2 days I take 20 joints, clean them out, and that's, like I said, that's several cleanings laying there.
Right.
So, and as you know, sometimes I just get tired of cleaning that crap, and I leave that much in it. But when I clean it the next time, you'll see that.
Well, and don't they know that the seeds are just jam-packed full of oil, and that's basically what's really harsh on your lungs?
But they say there's no oil in the seed. There's no seeds or stems in their pot.
That's what they're saying.
That's what they say, yeah.
So there were 12 people involved in the program, and there are now only 8 because they've died. So I think that instead of bringing the media attention to taking the people off the marijuana, I think they'll just let those 8 people out of, I don't know our exact population, I know I should, but however many million or billion it is, those 8 people are just going to try to reach as many people as they can.
So, what kind of lemonade is it that you make in here, Elvie?
We just get an awful lot of lemons thrown at us sometimes. Luckily, we know how to make fine lemonade.
I hear you're going to be helping Sister Samaya out right now. You're going to be an expert witness probably in the case?
I'd like that very much, but all I can testify is what the government gives me, what that program is about, and maybe it'll help enlighten some jurors and the judges to the fact that my government knows marijuana is medicine. Yeah, they do.
So long as patients are being jailed and destroyed, and so long as people are willing to listen, I'll continue to tell my story.
Marijuana prohibition. First of all, I know this is a shocker, but there's no such thing as marijuana. There was a name that was given to cannabis so that they could fool the sheep, the herd of people who do not study, do not get to learn the truth, into believing that the flower of the cannabis plant, which had been used and was being used at the time as medicine with no problem, had to be outlawed because it made people commit suicide and act bizarre. And the head of the American Medical Association, who had been very instrumental in setting the laws back in 1913 that began to deal with opiums and illegal substances, was a man by the name of James W. Woodward. And this wonderful human being saw right through that, investigated all those claims, and said there wasn't a shred of evidence. Of course, they would not let him testify. He had to write a letter about this. He said there was not a shred of evidence of that happening. Then he went on to say that cannabis should not... First of all, why were we changing the name to marijuana? The plant's name was cannabis. The medicine's name, yes, it was legal medicine then, was cannabis. And he said it would be a great disservice, especially to the elderly and the children, because of its non-addictive qualities. This came from the head of the American Medical Association, James W. Woodward, back in '36.
Are you aware of the House rule and how people aren't even allowed to talk of the investigational new drug program in federal court?
Yeah, I have heard that in several cases, and that to me is a travesty of justice. When you're trying to go to court to fight whatever that is, you should be allowed to bring up anything you can to try to prove your point.
Yeah, but we can't bring up patients like you.
Well,
we can't even say you exist. And why is that?
I would say that it would be difficult for them to stop a patient from testifying. That for you to be able to call up a patient and testify that this is a federal patient receiving federal medical marijuana, I don't think a judge could stop that.
Well, they did on the Peter McWilliams case.
They wouldn't let LV testify?
No, and they gave a House rule.
And LV couldn't just say that she gets marijuana from the federal government.
It was specifically ordered, actually, that we couldn't talk about Proposition 215, California Safe and Health Code 1136 2.5, Compassionate Use Act, or any of the 5 federal patients that receive marijuana by the federal government. It's really as if they want to say that you guys don't exist, and when you die, the program's going to be shut down.
Well, it's sad for our democracy to be doing that. It really is.
Right.
It's sad because this country, look, the original part of this country, you had to grow hemp just to get property in this country when you first came into the New World in the 1600s. Then this was a medicine. This was on the pharmacopoeia, on government pharmacopoeia until 1937.
Right.
And it was, the tincture was used for, a myriad of disorders.
Sure, it was the number one prescribed medication until 1901.
It's just really sad that they don't, that the hysteria because of the social aspect. And also, of course, it's the economic aspect of it. I mean, it's the lumber industry. It says, oh, God, if we had medical marijuana, hemp could be next. And if you can take hemp and grow paper, what am I going to do with all my trees?
And the textile industry.
Textile industry, the cotton industry, the rayon, nylon, petrochemical companies.
Nylon was invented in 1937 when marijuana was made illegal.
Isn't that amazing? I wonder if that had any coincidence there.
I wonder.
Yeah, so that's the sad part about this. That it comes out economic, and I know that. A pharmaceutical company, they don't want to see medical marijuana because it's a weed.
Right, not only that,
grow it.
$40 billion in antidepressants last year. It's like, I've talked to a number of patients that use marijuana as an antidepressant.
Oh, definitely.
And it's loaded full of estrogen, and I think a little estrogen probably helps a lot of people out with depression because a lot of that is testosterone driven in the first place. Like alcohol.
That's interesting.
Yeah, alcohol.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that because I remember the test they did in Missoula. My testosterone level, or one of the levels, was not as high in one respect.
You mean the Missoula test case study?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are 3 people on that, right?
There are 4.
4.
3 of us went there.
Okay.
George, Elvie, and I went to Montana. And then Montana went to Barbara Douglas. I mean, the doctors went to Barbara Douglas in Iowa.
Okay.
So it was 4 patients, but 3 of us went to Montana.
Wow, looks like I've got the Missoula study here. and what did they find out at the Missoula study? This is like one of the only tests of long-term marijuana use done on patients.
The only one, yes.
Right.
It's sad. That's the sad part about it. The government doesn't want to know how well it works. I mean, here they've been giving it to me for over 21 years, and they don't want to know.
This Missoula study?
The Missoula study was in Missoula, Montana. It was Drs. Ethan Russo and, God, I don't remember all the names that go with this study. And it was a neurological study, and they completed it in March of 2001. And it took 4 of the government patients. It took 4 of the government patients and did a long-term study on us. Now, Bob Randall had not passed away yet, so it was 2001. He hadn't passed away yet, but he was not well enough to make the trip. And so myself, Irv Rosenfeld, and Elvie Musica went to Missoula and did these.
So there are 3 of you, or
there was 3 of us there. There was 4 in the Missoula study. They actually sent. There was one other compassionate IND protocol receiver that was willing to participate. They had to go to her house.
How many IND patients? This is 2002, Christmas of 2002. How many IND patients do you know of that are out there right now?
5 that I know of, and a 6th protocol open, but the fellow hasn't used it in 20 years. So there's 5 of us that I know of.
And why does he not use it? Are you aware of where he is?
He was arrested for growing 2 plants after he became eligible for the program.
And it's ignorance. It's sad that they're that way because, I've always said one thing. People on our side are very intelligent, understanding, logical people. People against us are very intelligent, understanding, logical people. So if they're really that way, if they're really that intelligent, then what are they scared of? What are they worried about? But they must be, because they don't want to know how well it works.
Right.
And that's sad. And that's the word I use.
So, do you still have to take these other medications, or?
No, not at all.
Really?
I haven't taken Dilaudid or morphine now for 14 years.
All these machines that wake you up in the morning, or at least seem to wake me up in the morning, are growth for the sake of growth. And this, Edward Abbey is, to me, one of the great writers of all time. And Hello? And Edward Abbey says that growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of the cancer cell. And that is what's going on with the United States economy right now. Because we have